I'm aLex Levin, and you're joining us for about a half hour of getting present. This Sun and Moon Yoga Studio community. We just opened our new studio in Fairfax, and there was a big celebration there Friday. Um, so lovely to have that space available for the part of the community that's closer there. And some of you are closer to our Arlington studio, and those of you farther away can join online anytime for many, many different events. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for joining us live and later. Hi, Mary Beth. So, what else? Yes. So I wanted to note also before we start, we have a number of classes available that are along these lines of quieter, slower practice, going more inward. Really, it's not just inward, but it's the inward going that helps us retrieve what we've lost, see what we haven't seen, connect where we have been disconnected, and really, so it's a inner and outer. So I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that Amir is teaching a yin and something class. That might be Monday nights. That's in Arlington. My time slot on Thursdays, I'm yielding this fall term, to and maybe longer. We'll see. To Marjorie Ames, who's teaching a flow and yin. We have Jackie's meditation Friday morning. That's available just through Zoom, and you need to register. Both of the others, I think, are hybrid, either Zoom or in person in Arlington. Christine Clardy has a Wednesday evening meditation available on Zoom or in person in Arlington. And I haven't studied the New Fairfax schedule. Check that for something like yin, meditation. Surely they have, or gentle class even that slows down. So let's get started. I'm going to start with a poem today as you gather what you need to be comfortable for probably a seated or standing movement, a little bigger than what we've been doing lately with the eyes. Have what you need to sit still comfortable for about 8 minutes or so for our meditation part together. So, this poem is by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. You might have heard of her through a book that was fairly popular. I used to have it and passed it forward called, I think it was called The Invitation. Really loved that book. Similar to what I've been telling you about these classes that guide us into what's really important to ourselves, to remember that, and perhaps to get back on track with that. One of my thoughts for today's theme title was what's most important is, but sometimes we forget why that is relevant, is we forget what's most important. We get caught up in perhaps having followed what was most important, and we go down that road, but then things change, time passes, and we sort of forget to check in to what is most important now. So this poem is called Spring Blessing. I think it's apropos for any season, any time. And I'm thinking a lot and feeling a lot about the reactivity I'm having lately, sometimes emotionally overwhelming, to something happening inside of me, to something happening feels like to me, to something somebody else does. And actually, these moments, they're difficult. They can be very heavy. And they are opportunities to stop time, to do that magic. So Oriah Mountain Dreamer guides us to that and to how to meet that. One day you wake up able to name the weight you've been carrying. One day you wake up able to name the weight you've been carrying, realizing it's not a part of your body or being, not essential in any way to journeying or joy. you set it down gently without fanfare in the long, soft grass at the side of the road and walk on, surprised to find yourself smiling in the warm sun for no particular reason. There's a lot there that we could visit, and I'd like to just take those first two words, one day, even one moment. Let's arrive to this moment, one day, one moment, this moment, and just let yourself settle, having carved out this time for yourself, for this practice. Feel, feel, listen, listen with all your senses, and feel the weight of you. Perhaps that weight has gravitas of things happening in your life, both wonderful and perhaps perplexing, some others perplexing and heavy. And I think a lot of times we're naming what's happening even without being so conscious that we're doing it. So as you sense and just feel what it is like for you to be here now, feeling the physical sense of yourself, which is of course not divorced from the um, emotional, psychological, spiritual, practical, all kinds of cool. Maybe you're reporting on the things you're feeling in a physical way. There's sort of a bubbliness in, maybe it's a little tingly bubbliness at the base of my body, at the outer legs and pelvis, pelvic floor. And you could do this part of the practice and all of it, any position. You could even be lying down, you could be in bed. And so this is the part I call ground. It's it's not, it's part of what gravity is. And when we really feel for it, it brings us right here. And as we're watching for that with all our senses, we may also be feeling how breath is here. She's always here for us. Perhaps watching these two, the elements of grounding, and now breath together, feeling how the body slightly moves with the breath entering, leaving, coming, entering and leaving. And we might find invitations to relax more. And we can begin to, even as we still feeling the ground, being right here, so physically true, feeling breath, which starts to bring in the feel of the solidness, the softness, the hardness, the lightness, the buoyancy. It's all right here. Perhaps inviting more relaxation at the jaw, at the shoulders, the neck and base of the head. And begin to listen. We've been listening along with all the other sensing, but listen now to sound arriving. I mostly hear the fan. I hear my own voice. I hear peeps and chirps outside. And you might find with that listening, there's this sense of what I was suggesting earlier. There's the in here that we're definitely returning to more with this practice, but it's not separate from the out there. Notice how the sound is received, felt, and released. And from here, wherever you are, let's begin a side opening practice. We'll do 6 directions of the spine, which is a fabulous mini practice you can apply almost anytime, anywhere. So I'm going to stretch my left arm, which might look like my right arm, upward and tilt toward my left, right, opening the left side of my body a little bit more, perhaps reaching and releasing over several breaths, perhaps moving your head, support as you need. And you can be doing this lying down, standing up, as I mentioned. And then the other side, luxuriate and open the attention, the aperture of your attention a bit long enough so that you can see the cat get up out of the crate. Or feel all of yourself, feel the ground, feel the space around, feel a breath, and open to little movements you might do in other parts of you, like the head, the neck, the feet, even the arm, spine, front and back, as well as side to side, even though the main movement here is side to side. Okay, that's 2 directions. And let's take front and back. And for front and back, I'm going to bring my arms to cactus move pose arms to start with for a little bit of a back bend, arching back, and then putting my hands on my knees and letting the middle of the spine press forward, head bow, tail tuck. Perhaps inhaling with the opening the front body, direction 3, and direction 4 as we bow, rounding forward. You could also do this with a hinging at the hips, and that's a different stretch. So dance with it as you like. I'm going back and forth a few more repetitions, I think, than we did side to side. And then coming back to neutral. And the landing 2 sides are a twist. So moving your arms as you like. If you're reclining, you may just have bent knees and let the knees go to one direction and the shoulders, arms roll over, reach over to the other. This is Max over here. I changed something in Max's world yesterday and I think it threw him off. I just put the cat tree on top of something else. It just totally messed up his day. I think could have been something else. But we can let that happen, right? Something little messes up our day. So taking in the whole of yourself. There are some parts that get the biggest intensity, but also feel the peripheral parts, the parts that are quieter, the parts in between. Maybe go faster, maybe go slower. When you're ready, just come back to neutral. Just a really short practice. Maybe that was 2 or 3 minutes. I think I was about to share at the end of last week's practice together a no time feel. I'm returning to play some pickleball with my husband, Matt, and I. And I find that as I'm going to hit the ball, often that moment of where the ball is pretty close to my racket, I think I might close my eyes or I take my eyes away from the ball and I mess it up frequently. That's sort of my default. And I'm relearning what I found that there's so much more time than I thought there is in that time from when the ball is kind of out there to some distance closer to the racket that I can actually keep tracking. It was almost as if I got into a no time moment and stretch time or just made time malleable. I feel like fungible is a good word for that. It's kind of squishable, movable, stretchable, or making smaller or bigger. I wonder if you know moments like that. And certainly when we're waiting for something, sometimes the kettle to boil, the infamous kettle to boil, time seems like long when it's other times it goes so fast. So these practices help us, perhaps especially in those moments of intensity when we're just on automatic pilot and we respond the same way we always have, and it's so familiar and it's so painful. And what we can do there is notice ourselves naming it and perhaps say, as I believe I shared last week, something in me feels, something in me notices, something in me. And we could even put a hand on our body if there's a correlating physical part at the throat, the belly, the heart, usually those places, or the hands get clenched or the shoulders. And we, in effect, slow down time. So perhaps you're right where you are comfortable to segue into our meditation part. If not, just make it as easy as you can without disturbing the sleeping animals. And we'll begin our roughly 8 minutes of meditation together. And maybe if you're lying down, you are just, you don't need to move at all. If you'd been standing, of course, you could do standing meditation. Settle and relax. Even as you set the spine the way you want it to be, set the eyes, set the hands, shoulders. Bell and the bow signifying the beginning of this special practice. I never know when we start out what exact reaction. Know that you have the with more and more openness and acknowledgement, not necessarily loving or liking them. It's time to perhaps see them. Enjoy the journey. I'll drop in with a few words here and there to keep us coming back. Allow some gentleness with yourself, some kindness, maybe even forgiveness. You're not alone on this journey. Many, many kinds of support and community are with us. One day you wake up, one moment, able to name the weight you've been carrying. About 6 more breaths. One day you wake up able to name the weight you've been carrying, realizing it's not a part of your body or being, not essential in any way to journeying or joy. You set it down gently, without fanfare, in the long soft grass at the side of the road and walk on. Surprised to find yourself smiling in the warm sun for no particular reason. Thank you for joining me on this journey today and so many days, many of you, and in your own practice through time. And I do hope that maybe you'll continue to join me off the mat as we catch ourselves in those reactive moments and see them as blessings, as everyday blessings that give us a chance to see ourselves a little more clearly, to come back to maybe what our true intent is, reset that. Thank you so much, Mary Beth, and all of you who join later on, whichever time. And I'll see you back here next week. Enjoy your day.